Hey up guys, this is T.Sav here bringing you a prediction video of the championship for next season, 2016-17 season. Um, Being a Sheffield Wednesday fan, I've been following the championship for years now, and in my opinion, it's the most exciting league to watch. Really, it's because it's so unpredictable. That is only just my opinion. I don't think that's throughout, in general. But I think that it's a fantastic league, and I've been following it for years. And because I've been following Sheffield Wednesday, um, I've been going to away matches and seeing teams, and I've got a good insight into who might be, you know, well equipped to, do well this season, and who might not be so good this season. And again, guys, this is just my opinion. Comment yours down in the comment section. It's unpredictable, as I said, and it's really hard. And I doubt that this is going to be the final table. But for um, the teams I think are going to get relegated are Burton, Barnsley, and Blackburn. For Burton, they did well last season. Got promoted. But on paper, I think that they've got the weakest side in the championship, in my opinion. And they brought in a few faces like Lloyd Dyer from Burnley, Ryan Delaney. Don't know too much about him. Lee Williamson, Chris O'Grady. But really, though, are they going to stay up? They might surprise a few people. I mean, this is just championship, but my prediction would put them as the weakest side in the championship on paper. So unfortunately, they're going to finish in the bottom three and bottom consequently. Barnsley also had a good season last season. Went up by the playoffs, even though they were bottom at Christmas. They have a good squad, but the thing that I can see is that their defence is not good enough for this league. And being a Sheffield Wednesday fan, Barnsley so close to Sheffield. I have a good insight on Barnsley, and their defence is not good enough for the championship. They signed Tom Bradshaw from Walsall and Ryan Kent from Liverpool, who will be in the frame for a starting place. But really, they need to be focusing on the back because they have the players going forward. In my opinion, Sam Winnell, Lloyd Isgrove, etc. For me, their defense isn't good enough, in my opinion, and I think they'll just struggle because of that. Obviously, there's time left in the transfer window, but I'm not too sure, if I'm honest, if they'll stay up. Blackburn, in my opinion, will go down because I don't rate Owen Coyle as a manager. I don't think he's done too much in his career to, warrant a club like Blackburn. And they haven't made any signings. Simple as that. They've let go Grant Hanley for big money, and obviously Lee Williamson for Burton. But their core is slowly being dismantled, and it's because they've not been able to get back into the top flight because the parachute payments have run out. And their best player, in my opinion, is Ben Marshall, and I don't think he's going to sign another contract. But considering that they've brought nobody in, it's not looking good for them. If I'm perfectly honest, and I think they'll really struggle. Moving on to make up the rest of the bottom half, we got Wigan, Rotherham, Fulham, Reading, QPR, Forest, Preston, Bristol City, and Huddersfield. Wigan, went up last year. Who can forget Wilkes on fire? Scored them plenty of goals last year. I don't think he'll recreate the same form this year because the defences in this league are much tougher, and the teams are much tougher as well. Wigan are not the best team in this league, and there's many teams that are better than them this year. But I think they'll struggle this year, but I think they'll do enough to stay up. They've signed some decent players like Nick Powell. He's a really good player. I think they will do enough to just stay up. Jake Buxton, brought him in. Experienced Championship player. Adam Bogdan is a good goalkeeper. I think Stephen Warnock again, very championship experienced. I think they will just do enough to survive. But I think their squad was they've brought in players that will keep them up this year. I think with their championship experience. Same with with Rotherham. I think they completely earned the right to stay up last year. You don't go on a run like that, and it wasn't lucky. Put it that way. They definitely earned to stay up, and I think they'll do it again. I just think that on paper they're stronger than the teams that have come up this year, and I think Rotherham will stay up again this year. Fulham, I think, are a team that are just falling to pieces. If I'm honest, and that's nothing against Fulham. I do like Fulham. I've always known them being a Premier League team, but Dembele, he's gone. They have brought in Callas, and I think he's a really, really good signing. But the thing is with Fulham, Ross McCormack will not, in my opinion, will not be a Fulham player by the end of the window. And once he goes, I think that their team is very much weakened from last season. And considering where they finished last season, if their team's weakened, I think they're gonna again struggle. But moving on to Reading, I think Reading, I think to me, I don't know why Brian McDermott got sacked, but he did. But I just don't see him having a good season. I don't think they have the quality of players or the right team to progress. And that's the same with QPR. I think letting Matt Phillips go, the best player, there's not much hope, if you like, for QPR, as much. But I could be wrong about all these clubs. I mean, they could make a playoff charge, but they made a good signing in Jordan Cousins, who was Charlton's best player by a mile last year. It will do him good, but I mean, he's no Matty Phillips, if I'm honest. Leroy Furs left them as well. Moving on to Nottingham Forest, their stadium capacity has gone down to 20,000 for whatever reason. I don't know, but with foreign manager, signings that not many people know about, they're a bit unpredictable at the moment. And with the new manager, I think from abroad, I think they won't get the championship, if I'm honest. And I think I'm not sure about them, put it that way. Preston are a good organised side, and I think they'll do well this season, but I don't think they'll have the striking force to really push them up the league. And I think Bristol City is the opposite. They've brought in some really good players, like Lee Tomlin, he did great for them last year. I don't know too much about this Magnussen guy from Juventus, but he could be a good player. Again, I don't know too much about him. They've just brought in a Bayern Munich player again. A goalkeeper. I don't know too much about him, but Adam Matthews is a really good defensive player. But I think they do need to just improve defensively because they're going forward. Codger, Tomlin, Wilbraham, etc. They're really, really good going forward, in my opinion. Bristol City, and they do have the potential and the money to progress. And because if I've put them 14th, doesn't mean that they're not going to finish higher. You know what I mean? Huddersfield. I went to Huddersfield last season as a Sheffield Wednesday fan. I was really impressed in how they played. I think the manager used to be Klopp's assistant at Borussia Dortmund, and they played really, really well, and almost got a draw. But I think they'll have a better season this year. Because they brought in some German players. Again, don't know too much about them, but I do think they will progress, in my opinion. Moving on to the top half of the table, up to seventh anyway. We've got Birmingham, who did really, really well last year. Really, in ways, overachieved because they were tipped for relegation. Gary Rowett did a really good job last year because they hardly spent a penny, and they did really, really well because they had a really good, strong team. But they brought in a couple of players like Ryan Shotton, good, decent player. Robert Teschi, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, but he came from Nottingham Forest. I think they let David Edgar go, but he wasn't a first team player anyway. But I think not too much improvement, but not too much. I think they'll do a very similar season for what they did last year, in my opinion. They're a good side. Moving on to Brentford, it's a big blow not having Alan Judge available. Because shame to hear about his injury, but they let David Button go, who I think is a really really good goalkeeper, to Fulham. However, they have signed Sawyers from Walsall and David Bentley. David Bentley has obviously been a replacement for him, and of course John Egan. But I think they will do well this year, but I don't think they're quite ready for top six. But let me know what you think. But I think with the loss of Jake Bidwell, I think they're not ready yet. Ipswich, they're the same. I think they've got a good team, but they don't really have the money to invest. And if I'm honest, the only way is backwards for them. If I'm honest, they don't have enough money to challenge really. Even though they got a good side, good players, they don't have the money for me to go up and progress. Whereas Leeds, I think, do. They've got a good manager. They've signed good players in my opinion, like KR Roof. A few more to name a few, but I think Gary Monk's a very good, talented manager, and I think Leeds are. Shame to me to say it because I'm a Wednesday fan, but I think Leeds will do much better this season because of him. They brought in Rob Green, who I think is a very experienced and good goalkeeper. But you never know who Leeds. You just don't know. So I think they will do better this season, though. However, Wolves, on the other hand, got this financial takeover. Billions of pounds. George Mendes is the agent. However, they haven't got going yet in the transfer window because of this. But I do feel that they will get going because with the amount of money that they have to invest, I think they will be getting close to top six, but not quite just there yet. They don't have the team at the moment, and I don't think they will have the team. And I don't think they'll have the team to get them into top six by the end of the season, if I'm honest. I think there's just too many strong teams for them to compete with, in my opinion. Cardiff almost got into the playoffs last season ahead of Wednesday. I think they'll do well. But new manager. I do think Cardiff will push for the playoffs, but I think they will just miss out. Unfortunately for them, they lost Scott Malone, and I think he's a big loss in my opinion. Moving on to the top six, you got Aston Villa, Brighton, Wednesday, Norwich, Derby, and Newcastle. Villa, they brought Tommy Elphick from Bournemouth. Knows the league inside out. Got promoted with Bournemouth a few seasons ago. So he knows what to do basically, and it's good to have those players in. But I don't think they at the moment have the team to settle on. They don't. I don't think they know their best 11. I mean, it's always hard to know your best 11 when you come down. But with Aston Villa, I don't think they have the players yet to to gel really. I mean, they've brought in Elphick. They've brought into Chabola from Reading, who's I think is a really good signing, but it's hard to say at this moment in time because they've already spent over 10 million on those. Elphick and Chabola, I think, or close to 10 million anyway, which is a lot of money. It's more than what Sheffield Wednesday have spent, but you don't know. Simple as that. They could get into the top six, or they could just finish well, but maybe not quite top six yet. Maybe next season they go for promotion, but who knows what the aim is for them? If I'm honest, I think they should be aiming for promotion this season as they went down, but I wouldn't be too surprised if they do finish a bit lower. But in my opinion, I do think they'll get into top six. Brighton just finished third last season. Who played really really well. Got some great players. Anthony Knockaert. Just to name a few, really. Steve Sidwell, who they've just brought in, Stockdale, great goalkeeper Dunk. Great players. And I think, just a couple of more additions. I mean, they haven't been too active in the market. I mean, they've got Glenn Murray on loan, but he's not gonna get you 25 goals, this season and get them promoted. But it's difficult. I do think Brighton will be there again. They've got too many good players not to be. Good manager in Chris Hughton, and I think they'll just get. I think they will get into top six again. Whether they get promoted, I don't know. But moving on to Wednesday, my club, we've brought in Abdi from Watford, Amal Abdi, uh, just recently actually for about fee to be around £4 million. Also brought in Stephen Fletcher and Danny Pudil, who was also with us last season on loan. But the thing is though, those signings are really really good signings, all Premier League signings. But we do need cover at left back, even though we signed Padil, which is a great signing from Watford because he did really well last year. He's a left back, but before he arrived, we had no left backs at the club at all. So we do need some cover there. Glenn Leuven's our captain. Is injured. He's going to miss the start of the season. Out for a while. Of not too long. About the end of September. We do need cover there because we only have Tom Lee's, by the way, best defender in the league. I'll go out and say it, but in my opinion anyway. But we do need another centre half. Sam Hutchinson can play there, and in fact, I think he's better as a centre half instead of a midfielder. And I think that's the plan for this season anyway, to play Sam Hutchinson and Tom Lees together. But we do need cover there, in my opinion. Even though we're really good defensively, there's just a bit of lack in depth, and I think we just need to, even though we got the base, we got the whole team. We know who's our, the best team we have, but we just need some backup really for maybe injuries and stuff. And I think maybe just one more centre midfielder like Nabil Benslem. We've been linked with him from Spurs. He'd be a great signing, but if we can get that, I think we can easily challenge for top two. Moving on to Norwich, Norwich maybe in people's eyes unlucky to go down last year from the Premier League. I think they'll obviously challenge for the top two. There's no doubt about it because their squad only recently got promoted from the Championship, so they've still got players that can get them out. Is what I'm trying to say of this league, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're there. Because they've brought in Michael McGovern, who had a great Euros with Northern Ireland. They've also brought in Sergi Canos from Liverpool. Don't know too much about him, but they've signed him for believed to be around big money. So probably a good signing. They will be challenging, in my opinion, for at least top six. But again, that's the minimum, and I think they will be close to the top two, and that's why I've put them third. But anyway, any of the teams into the top six, I think, can easily challenge for the top two. Moving on to Derby, though, Derby have not made any signings whatsoever. You kind of wonder, what's going on here. Just haven't brought any signings. However, I do think that they will bring in players. Nigel Pearson is one of those managers that will just give them a right rollicking, and players will be afraid of him, but in a good way, because it will get the best out of them, and because they'll be playing for their spot every single week. And I think he's being experienced, being the man that got Leicester out and took them up. I think he's the perfect man for Derby at this moment in time, because they've spent, as I said, they got the base there, from last season. All they need now is just something different, a bit extra, to actually get them promoted. And in my opinion, I think they've got that in Nigel Pearson, and I think they'll get into the top two. Now moving on to everyone's pick for to go up this season and go up as champions, and that's Newcastle. And I'm no different. I think they'll finish. They'll easily. I think they'll get promoted, but they've not wasted any time in the transfer window. I think signing Grant Hanley for big money, signing Isaac Hayden, big money as well. 2.5 million. I think that was. Gamez from Atletico Madrid. Size. I think that's the goal. I think that's how you say it. The goalkeeper's name. Dwight Gale, But the thing, and of course Matt Ritchie, who's, all of those are signings that'll easily, make them contenders. But the thing is, right? Even though they have all these great players, and for the championship, and a great manager, a great stadium, big, big club, big amount of support. It does make me wonder though that Newcastle fans are, expecting them to go up, and they think it's going to be a walk in the park, and it's going to be it's going to be easy next season, and in fairness, it probably will be, but I wouldn't say that just yet. This is the championship, and as I said, I think it's the most unpredictable league in you know you know that there is really, and I think because this is not the same league when they went down. It's a completely different league the last time that they were in the championship. Many teams can compete with them financially. Likes of Wednesday, Derby, Norwich, Brighton, Villa, Wolves now, and other teams like QPR, Forest. This goes on. They can compete with Newcastle in terms of financially, but I just don't want them to think it's a foregone conclusion them going up. You know what I mean? Even though they should be going up this year, and I think the same as well, and I think they will go up as champions. But just don't, this league is unpredictable. Put it that way. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think, and thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.